Man, you know you done screwed up when the Queen Shill herself turns on you. Well done, Leslie. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. The Acolyte was a show reviled by the very few and increasingly fewer Star Wars fans who tuned in every week to take part in Leslie Headland's deconstruction of the once evergreen franchise. However, Disney can always count on Hollywood shills like Grace Randolph and the other pixie dusters to heap lavish praise on everything they do. Randolph even called criticism of The Acolyte hate speech recently. So, imagine my surprise when she turned on the show, publicly bashing it. Disney can't be happy about this, and you're gonna hear all about it on Tooneytown TV. Now look, I'm sick of talking about The Acolyte. I'm sick of talking about Leslie Headland. I'm sick of talking about Star Wars. But, despite the fact that the show is over, we do still have to cover some things regarding it because it is still in the news. Now, one of the things that I've found to be incredibly hysterical of late is the pixie duster, I'll praise everything that Disney does, personalities on YouTube and on blogs and all that other stuff. They are all starting to come around about how The Acolyte is a terrible show. And one of those people is the Queen Shill herself, Grace Randolph. She has turned on The Acolyte after episode 7 and called it awful after claiming that all criticism of the show was hate speech. Now, remember, these are the people that tell you that if you don't like this show, you are somehow a horrible person, you're racist, you're sexist, you're homophobic. They cannot fathom the fact that, they call it review bombing because they can't fathom the idea that someone might not like their show. So that is what we're dealing with here. And that is what we're dealing with a lot of time with Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer. There she is, looking pensive and thoughtful. This article, by the way, from That Park Place, written by John F. Trent, says YouTube personality Grace Randolph has finally turned on the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm and described the most recent episode as awful, not to be confused with her biggest fan, Awful Wrestling, from Toonie Talk Wrestling. Randolph shared her initial thoughts on Twitter, simply writing, "The Acolyte. Oh man, that was awful." Now, her about face on the show is dramatic, as John Trent points out. Back in June, after the first 2 episodes premiere, Randolph was calling the majority of people criticizing the show grifters. On June 6th, she wrote, "I think it's funny that the The Acolyte people are yelling shill at anyone who likes it. Yet the hate is largely being driven by people who are making money off of it, aka grifters." Now, let's also point out that Grace Randolph makes money off of The Acolyte as well. Grace Randolph makes money off of doing videos about The Acolyte, and so that would make her, by her own definition, a grifter. She then went on to criticize those said grifters by making it clear, as John Trent says, that she had a problem with it. Randolph hypocritically followed it up by writing, "By the way, I have no problem if you don't like The Acolyte, but there's no need to go full Sith on it." Oh, Grace, you are just a cut up, man. You are a wit to be trifled with here. My goodness. So then, less than a week after describing the majority of people disliking the show as grifters, Randolph claimed that Disney would struggle to cast people in Star Wars moving forward because the actors were receiving hate. She posted, "I will say that it's going to be very hard for Disney to cast upcoming Star Wars projects because this level of hate just isn't worth it, even for up-and-coming actors. Like poor Lee Jung-jae, coming off Squid Games, doing a great job on The Acolyte. And for what?" By the way, Lee Jung-jae is like the only person that people were kind of universally praising as doing a good job in this show. He had terrible scripts to work with, but despite that, he was doing a good job. He was acting his butt off. He's a great actor. I have not seen anyone complain about him. The only complaints surrounding his character are what Leslie Headland did to him by making him infatuated with a little girl. All right, so just 3 days after that post, she claimed critics were taking on hate speech qualities. On June 14th, she said, "No to The Acolyte. I remember why some of you are frustrated with Star Wars right now, and I'm by no means trying to tell you your feelings are wrong. I do feel the loudest voices against The Acolyte are taking on hate speech qualities, and that does not help your cause. As for me, I genuinely like the show. I'm excited for you to see episode 4 on Tuesday. The best of the 4 episodes I saw in advance. Episode 4 was putrid. It was episode 4. Nothing happened in episode 4. You are an idiot. The Acolyte videos are meant to be a space for people who do like the show and those who might not like it but are open to discussing it. All right, so it's not meant to be a space for honesty and your honest review on things, Grace. It's meant to be a space for people who like the show. Okay, cool. Got it. She then concluded, does Lucasfilm poke the bear? Absolutely. Should there be a broader range of Star Wars content? Absolutely. But I feel The Acolyte is genuinely a good show with awful timing and is sitting down at a table where odds were stacked against it, which is unfortunate. All right, look, I don't care who you are, like what you like. I mean, it's subjective. Objective reality is numbers. It's objective reality to say people stopped watching it. People tuned out. It didn't have high viewership. That's objective reality. Subjective opinions are your own. Even if they disagree with mine, I'm fine with it. So if you like The Acolyte, I don't fault you for it. But I mean, like, it's just a mindset that I don't understand. I'm not going to judge anyone for it. I will judge Grace Randolph because she's judging others. And, she is just the Queen Shill. The only thing she did. It's funny because, like, Grace Randolph will like every piece of slop that Disney puts out, right? But then the Mario movie, my subjective opinion on that was that it was fantastic and it was an objective success joining the $1 billion club. She had nothing but criticism for that because it was taking animation away from Disney. It was trouncing everything Disney was doing, and it was going against the narrative that kids and families don't come to the movies anymore. So, she was like, why is he a cat? I don't understand. Maybe it's because Japanese people like cats. She calls everybody racist, but then gets like really racist. Like, she's insanely racist, and it's hysterical. In her episode 6 breakdown, Grace continued to sing the show's praises. She said, it's hard to follow an episode as amazing as episode 5. And to be honest with you, I think episode 6 doesn't quite live up to the challenge. Yeah, no, duh. Nothing happened in episode 6. I think the only thing that would be satisfying after so much glorious action is an info dump of answers, and instead here we get the promise of answers to come in episode 7 or 8. She would then later state, there was a lot of hate out of the gate for this show, but there was a lack of positivity to combat it. Now we're finally finding ourselves in a space where at least it seems, evenly matched. So that's really important for the show. By the way, let's just take like a look at what she said. Just I want you guys to just hear what she sounds like so you can gauge my impersonation of her.
Because in the timeline, you're like, why were these awesome things abandoned? I mean, I'm willing to go along with cortosis because it's just so cool.
I'm willing to go along with cortosis because it's just so cool. And like, oh my God. So just so you see, I'm not going to subject you to too much of this. So.
And eventually the apprentice kills the master so that they can become the master. And
yeah. Please explain.
He's very menacing this episode. As I told you, I'd like to see him go to the.
You hear that?
And I like Saul. I'd like him to stick around. He's very menacing this episode. As I told you, I'd like to see him go to the.
See, he's very menacing. And please explain the Bane-Knight Sith to me, please, Grace. I would love to hear your explanation of the Bane-Knight Sith. Good Lord. But anyway, she called episode 7 trash or garbage or whatever she said at the beginning of the episode. She called it awful. Sorry, like her number one fan, Awful Wrestling. So there you go. Grace Randolph, huge about face, turned on the Acolyte. I have not seen what she said about the finale. Mostly just because I don't care. And unless like somebody else writes about it, I don't actually watch her stuff because I just cannot stand her voice. I don't think there's going to be any comped theme park tickets or cupcakes in Grace Randolph's immediate future after she finally showed a shred of common sense and voiced her true opinions of the Acolyte. This show was one of the most reviled pieces of media ever created, and no one is really able to defend it short of fan-blaming nonsense arguments. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you'll join us Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Toonie Talk TV, our live stream entertainment podcast. It's a great way to interact with me and make your voices heard as part of the Toonitown community. Please also subscribe to Toonitown Wrestling, our pro wrestling comedy channel, and That Game Place, the That Park Place gaming channel, where I'm a regular host. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here on the Toonitown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!